I think I've said this every single time we've played that, but every time it plays, the tanky in me like starts pounding out of my chest, and I'm just like, "Let's go to war!"
You're
Like,
ready.
Uh-huh.
yeah. Like
Absolutely love it.
like let's be authoritarian. Let's put these liberals in the gulag. Like, let's just do it. Like, what are we waiting for? I
It's
mean,
you want to meet outside? Like, let's just go.
well, with that
Yeah.
profile picture of yours, I kind of think that that's definitely the vibe that you're going for.
That is exactly the vibe I'm going for.
Now,
I'm going to walk outside shirtless and I'm going to all rippled muscles and say, "Let's do this."
now I gotta ask you: is
Fucking
that supposed to be
PFP.
you,
Oh my
bro,
God.
or is that Jesus?
I typed in AI muscular Jesus.
Good
I
lord,
just got a
literally.
picture.
That's hurrah, bro.
But I've always been told I look like, Jesus, and then I always correct it as I look like white Jesus.
You're always virtue and pious like the real Jesus, or
Yeah.
shall we say Isa? I mean, anyway. Hi everyone. It's after New Year's, our unofficial official break, and pretty excited to hang out with you guys. I've missed you guys. Just been playing a lot of Lethal Company with Cutie over here. Got a couple
Yep.
clips that we can throw up on there. Muerte, have you decided on a profile picture yet?
Buddy's
I
fucking
have.
psych.
It's not
Like the
sure.
Wheel
It
of
wasn't
Fortune
showing
over
up.
here.
Your Stalin
I
was
was.
up.
It was okay. It wasn't showing
I
up
like
on my
this one
screen.
more than Stalin, to be real. But
Yeah.
you know,
I gotta be real.
Hey, anything with
It's pretty
Stalin's
good.
beautiful, but this is also good.
Nah, see, just having Stalin is very great man theory. We gotta show the lowly proletariat out there fighting.
are you
the war.
calling the Red Army soldier lowly?
Only when he's alone, but when he's with his comrades, he's strong and mighty. Anywho,
Yeah.
so today we were planning to kind of rip in and declare war, so to say, and a couple of what you could describe as so-called left-wing opportunists. But with the news today, I feel like it's kind of a little inappropriate to be as jokey about it as I think as we were planning. So we still definitely want to talk about, the grifters that you find on the internet, the people who use what we call Marxism, or what they are saying is Marxism, and it's not. Communism, left-wing aesthetic to basically sell a brand to people, to make money and make clout for themselves, and kind of analyze sort of their general schemes. But I think we should probably touch on the news of basically what's been going on.
As always, the U.S. beat us to war.
Yeah, so not surprising to see it in our time in the Christian year 2024. Basically, earlier today, the United States, with its Navy, Air Force, and Tomahawk missiles, attacked targets in Yemen, in so-called Houthi-controlled territory. There's no confirmed casualties or exactly what they hit. Everything right now was mostly rumors, but what is not rumors is the fact that they really did attack Yemen. So let me go ahead here and show you guys some stuff here. This is a video posted by Matt Galvatron. Gonna lower the volume because I don't know how loud it's going to be. Let me know if you guys can hear it, but I'm just gonna play it. I'm happy to show it here because I know for a fact that video will be taken off of TikTok soon enough, as unfortunately TikTok guidelines just, they want to suppress this kind of information. But thankfully, in the day and age of the internet, these things spread like wildfire. That's how we've been able to get so much information about the ongoing genocide that's happening in Palestine. Another video I want to show you guys from Telegram of also more confirmed airstrikes and missile strikes in Yemen. Let me pull that up real quick. I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. So why are they doing this? Why does the United States, I mean, we know why. Why does the United States feel the need to interject into these situations that, for I would think the common man would think, we're all the way over here, Yemen's all the way over there. How is this connected to everything that's going on in Palestine? And if any of you guys want to take that away and kind of educate the audience a little bit, go for it.
Because the Yemenis are terrorists. The Houthis are terrorists, right? That's why the U.S. is.
That's what I heard. I just
that's the
heard
rumor.
big terrorists.
They hate our freedom.
They hate our freedoms. Yes.
I mean, that's what President George Bush said all those years ago.
Yeah.
We're bringing them democracy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And as leftists, and I have to be upfront, I don't really know too much ideologically where the Houthis stand. I know I more than likely don't agree with them because they're not Marxist-Leninists. However, as we advocate for the self-determination of nations and nations that are standing up against the most genocidal power in the world, in this case, as we all know, the United States. So it's from my understanding that basically what's been happening in the last couple of months since the IOF has escalated operations in Palestine is that the Houthi rebels have been targeting commercial vessels that have been planning to dock in Israel proper to deliver goods and services, because it's from my understanding as well that Israel is pretty much dependent on exports, and that they essentially don't have the capacity to manufacture much of their own. I mean, it's a relatively small militarized nation that's completely reliant on the United States. So Joe Biden himself, I posted on Facebook earlier, basically said that they're doing this to protect the commercial interest, and it's just right then and there. That's what he's saying. That it's capitalism. There's no, like Comrade Ash just says, it's about the money. It's really that simple.
Yeah. It's about the money, and it's about, if you broaden it a little bit wider than just the money, it's about the money that is able to be extracted through imperialism by having that outpost in Israel that is completely subservient to Western interests.
Right. No, exactly. I don't know. So what do you guys, I feel like we're in such unprecedented times. Like things are repeating themselves as what happens as capitalism finds its inherent contradictions. But I don't know at this point. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if, we already are in the wider war. I don't know if Iran will retaliate. The rumors on Telegram right now, and I'm emphasizing they're just rumors, is that the Houthi rebels already sunk some kind of U.S. vessel, and they already shot down an F-22. And I feel like the news media doesn't necessarily, yeah, exactly, Larry, doesn't necessarily, I mean, language, right? Language is the weapon. They refer to these people as Houthi rebels. They want people to think that they're just, like we were making a joke earlier about the Middle Eastern war movies, like just dudes in sandals and kufiya and shooting AKs. When the Houthis, I believe, are 2 million combatants strong. And like in perspective, the U.S. active combat service forces is about 360,000 people. So like this is a very serious military operation that they have going on there, with more than capable of going toe for toe against the United States. If the United States would hope to reduce their forces, the Houthi forces, down to a capacity where the United States could be able to land forces in actual realistic numbers, like they did with Iraq, it would be in a pretty incomprehensible bombing campaign that would have to occur. And even then, history has shown that that never really does anything. That only increases the resolve of the enemy.
Yeah, if anybody thinks that they know what's going to happen, they're kidding themselves. So, but yeah, these are the kinds of things that we see as imperialism just keeps trucking along until we've been able to put a stop to it any day now.
Now, Cruz, I saw that you mentioned right before we started that Congress is apparently pretty pissed at Biden. Oh, I think homie can't unmute himself, so I'll try to find something in the meantime. But know more about like what the Houthis are about?
I mean, to be perfectly honest, this sort of just happened. So I think if we want to truly give it the the Houthi perspective on what their resistance is about, we would need more time. This is more to actually do research. I'm not overly educated on the Houthi position, nor do I know exactly what their what their positions are. So I would feel confident at a later date covering it.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean they've been fighting against imperialists and the United States, and the United States backed Saudi Arabia, who was funding and complicit in supporting a genocide against the Houthis.
Right.
So, I mean, it makes sense that for people that just got out of a genocide, they're not very interested in watching another one happen to people that look like them and believe things that are similar to them. Like they're not very interested in standing by and watching it happen when they can do something about it, especially when many of the global shipping lanes go directly through Houthi controlled territory and sovereign territory that they have the right to stop ships if they so see fit.
And they've been doing a pretty excellent job from what I've been understanding. I can't personally remark on the casualties in terms of crew members in those sort of situations. But I know they've been able to use cruise missiles and strike on ships or straight up just hijack ships altogether. We've been seeing some pretty fire memes of people having weddings on captured cargo ships. Something I wanted to mention is, the counter propaganda we see on TikTok where people say things like, "Oh, well, the Yemenis are they're just targeting random ships." Someone did a whole like deep dive into basically how this one Singapore ship or ship from Singapore was owned by a company in some other country, and turns out the guy who owned that ship in that country was an Israeli citizen who had a position like in the Israeli government. Like the Houthis have an apparatus that's much more sophisticated than people are giving them credit for. And I guess we can only pray and hope that the United States will reconsider its advances. Hopefully, once they get a taste of their own medicine in the region, they'll reconsider. But we all know how that's going to play out. Real quick, Democrats slam Biden for bypassing Congress to strike Yemen.
Slam.
Some House Democrats are frustrated with the Biden admin for striking Houthi positions in Yemen without congressional approval on Thursday night. The president needs to come to Congress before launching a strike against the Houthis in Yemen and involving us in another Middle East conflict. Rep. Rokan Decalf wrote on X or Twitter, the Article 1 of the Constitution, I will stand up for regards whether Democrat or Republican in the White House, he added. Biden announced in a statement the U.S. led a coordinated airstrike in Yemen and the UK in support from Canada, Australia, and Bahrain. He said the targets were used by Houthi rebels and endangered freedom of navigation in one of the world's most vital waterways. These airstrikes have not been authorized by Congress. The Constitution is clear. Congress has the sole authority to authorize military involvement in overseas conflicts. Every president must find Congress and ask for military authorization regardless of the party. The United States cannot risk entanglement into another decades-long conflict without congressional authorization. The White House must work with Congress before continuing these airstrikes in Yemen. Senior rep and lawmaker, however, shown rare praise for Biden over the move. So, I mean, like, cool that Congress is getting mad at Biden. I mean, I support all jabs at Biden, but this is the fash party lines arguing with each other, because when Trump was president and he could, kill Iranian generals, I personally don't recall any sort of complaints from the Republicans about that move. I'm sure there were some from the Democrats, and in this case, at least based off this very limited sample size, it doesn't seem like the Democrats are keen on saying anything, because they very much approve of what Biden is doing. And I actually have another video I can pull up.
I mean, that's ultimately what it is, right? Like, they don't actually care that Biden launched the strikes. They weren't informed. They didn't get to say yes or no. They probably would have said yes and said
they wanted the stamp of approval.
Yeah, it's because they want that illusion of how our government works, which is Congress is the one that gets to declare war and all that. But and the president, like the way it's written in the executive branch, is that the president has, I think, 90 days to conduct military strikes without congressional approval. So it's well within the Constitution that this is fine. So it's all just theater. There's no actual like pushback. Except maybe one person that's like, hey, we probably shouldn't do this. That's stupid. But most of them are just like, hey,
you didn't have permission.
We got to keep up the shtick, that this is how our government works. Otherwise, people are going to start feeling like they don't have a say, and that'll lead workers to wanting to look into some scary words.
I could already hear people like asking, like, do you condemn the Houthis and things like that? I'm sure
I don't.
Yeah, Kollectiv does not. We don't condemn Hamas or the Houthis.
As I've stated before, I think in a podcast I will kiss Hamas on the lips.
Hey, Mom. I got a story I told some of you guys, but so basically, the other day, and there's a YouTube video up called Kollective Bothers Pat Ryan. Those in the audience, if you haven't watched it, please go watch it. In my little city, my congregation and we had a little pro-Palestinian rally. About 500 people showed up. It was pretty baller. To bother Representative Pat Ryan because he is silent on the genocide and supporting Joe Biden. He's a Democrat. For supporting genocide. You're good, brother. Anyway, so it was pretty cool, and I went with one of the brothers from the masjid, and it was a pretty bold move on me, but like this is my principles. Like, the DSA was the one hosting most of the event, and I can't, I'll shit on a DSA any day, but they put on the event, so like whatever, I'll give them that credit, right? So the guy from the DSA, he goes up and he's trying his best or whatever, and he's like, no, it wasn't him, my fault. They had another speaker come on. It was a woman. She was talking about whatever, and she goes, and we condemn what Hamas did too. And I looked at this dude who I just met and went, I don't. And he just started laughing hysterically. And he's like, me too. And I'm like, yeah, bro, like we believe in revolutionary struggle. Like, that's it. Point blank period. There's no debate. What do you think this is?
I saw this quote where it says the oppressed cannot be violent. And I forget who said that, and it's going to bother me. But the oppressed cannot be violent. I mean, they've been under occupation for 75 plus years. I mean, no one can blame them for how quote unquote extremist they've gotten. Like, they've lived under harsh conditions for so long, open air, concentration camps, right next to concerts. And it's like, you got to be like really dense to not understand where they're coming from. Because 75 years plus, I'd be an extremist too, brother.
You mean you're not one now?
Oh, I'm definitely 100%. But I'm just saying, if I was in that position.
No, I know. I'm
Hey,
That's
we
little
we
jokes
we
in
love
Minecraft.
the immortal science of Marxism Leninism in Minecraft. Yes, what you said.
Yeah. So I want to show this another video, and then I think we'll move on to the other news coming out of South Africa and The Hague. So this is a video of Biden being interrupted at a what do you call it? A campaign event in Carolina, I believe, one of the Carolinas. So
South
let me
Carolina.
show you. Thank you. So this is video. Look at this fuck. But anyway, here we go. So come on. Oh, doesn't look like it wants to load for me. Let me try it again. There we go. She kind of looks like Aubrey Plaza.
That's all right. That's all right.
I could see it a little bit.
Couldn't be me.
4
Yeah,
more years
so,
of what?
Blue MAGA.
exactly, and that's that's definitely what I said in my video, you know, I made right after that, which was like 4 more years of what? Of genocide, of crumbling American infrastructure, of no healthcare, of no education, of a working class that is continually crumbling. Like I it's blue MAGA, and all these liberals, they're making excuses, and they're like, oh well, that's been a saying for decades. 4 more years, we want 4 more years of Biden is better than Trump. And I saw you unmuted your mic, Cutie, so I don't know if you want to say something.
Yeah, I mean, give them the fucking wall. I mean, give them the wall. Mussolini treatment, upside down, dragging through the mud. I mean, if your response is 4 more years to somebody saying, "Hey, maybe you should stop an ongoing genocide," and your response is to just be like, "Oh, you know, we need 4 more years of this guy who's been, you know, probably the most compromised politician in all of Washington, that has been for decades been supporting exactly this and been perfectly okay with it." So I have no sympathy for them. They can have the fucking wall.
That's kind of the point we're at, right? Like,
I mean, this is revolution.
if you don't get it by now, you're probably not going to.
No, exactly. Like this is the moment where you, as an adult, have to start making conscious decisions about what you support. And while I prefer you guys all be Marxist Leninists, the reality is that if you are a layman work person and you are seeing that society is not improving, your wages aren't going up, your rent is going higher, food is really expensive, you can't afford to send your kids to college, but we're able to spend billions of dollars on weapons, billions of dollars on genocide, and now entangle in another. Don't get me wrong. If a hot war with the Houthi rebels is not something that's going to be over in an afternoon, okay? So what are we doing here? What is the average person supposed to do? The average person is supposed to advocate and work towards a better society. We don't have a choice in this matter anymore. This is not whether or not it's moral or it's correct. It's just logical. We cannot just sit here and ponder about what is to be done. What are we about to do? You know, we went down to that rally in DC where almost 1 million people were there, or sorry, 500,000 people were there. And what happened? Nothing. That cries are literally
Yemen got bombed.
Yemen got bombed. Yeah, exactly. and so what are those people supposed to do? I mean, we know, but we're not going to say it on here, you know, but like, you know, as Cutie said, you get the wall. You know,
Minecraft activities.
Minecraft activities. There's really nothing left that can be said. But anyway, let me transition over to our other topic. If someone wants to yap for a second, any final thoughts on this Yemen bombing?
I was seeing. I'm watching the live updates on Al Jazeera's website. See if anything is coming up. They're really just talking about the U.S. is going for self-defense as the legal justification for the war.
Yeah. No, the line remains the same: revolutionary defeatism. Always.
Speaking of fash, y'all seen the resurgence of the Roman salute in Italy? I did see that video.
Wall.
Yeah, no, he's just well.
Yeah,
There's
if you
fascists.
guys,
Yeah.
real quick,
Yep.
I'm gonna do a quick plug. If you guys want to follow us on Twitter at Twitter Kollectiv, I reposted it and I posted a picture of Mussolini upside down, and the quote was, "Now imagine 100+ fascists doing the exact same pose." So yeah, they could all get the Mussolini treatment. The head and everything. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just look up Mussolini death.
Yeah.
And you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. For your knowledge.
Mussolini
do that
lamppost.
pose. It should become a trend. We should make fascists do that pose.
They'll for
It
sure
is-
lose their smile after that.
It is simply
I
the
mean,
correct.
your smile will be upside down. It'll be a frown now.
Yes, Comrade Ash. I believe that the president is the granddaughter of Mussolini.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. Yes, that is a thing. There's been times where anti-fascists have tried interrupting a rally by singing Bella Ciao, which is bass, and everybody loves the song Bella Ciao. It's a banger. We won't play it here because we'll get copyrighted, unfortunately. Actually, we probably wouldn't. No, that's it. No,
There's a lot of different versions of the same song. You would only get copyrighted by like whatever song you used it version of the song name in.
So just a slight.
I wanted to correct one thing. Georgia Meloni is not the granddaughter of Mussolini.
I was about to say the same thing, Larry.
Yeah. Alessandra Mussolini is a politician in Italy who is the granddaughter, but they're aligned. Meloni is the fascist.
She did run for prime minister at one point. Like she was in the running for it, but did not win. But the current prime minister is part of the party that was started by Mussolini. So it's all Mussolini still.
Yeah.
But slight correction, the current prime minister is not directly related to Mussolini.
Correct.
I mean, I'd still get the Mussolini treatment.
Like, does it matter? Not really, but like for the sake of integrity.
Yeah, the policies are what matter, but yeah, just to correct it, not actually his granddaughter, just his ideological successor.
We couldn't possibly lie about anything, we wouldn't want to compromise our integrity with fascists.
Yeah,
We wouldn't want them to be distrustful of us.
You see, what we have to do, we have to appeal to the right wingers and bring them over to our side, All
right, hold on. But this is very relevant to discussions that we have been having lately when it comes to thought that is borderlining on reactionary or is reactionary. So when you are existing in Marxist-Leninist circles, you are a Marxist-Leninist, and you have people saying some pretty goofy things, such as we have to be better than the Nazis, the 1945 Germans, and we don't have to worry about other reactionary forces such as compromised anarchists in our circles. We're at a point in revolutionary struggle where bad shit's gonna happen. I hate to say it to you like that, but it is. And I'm not saying that, we killed a whole kindergarten. Obviously not, bro. But what I'm saying is you need to start understanding that this is war. The revolution started a long time ago. People are going to die, and those people are going to be fascists because the fascists are going to target you before you even have a chance to blink. So you need to keep that in mind because they already are. But let me go ahead and transition here to another topic real quick. Let me pull that up. Come on. Share. All right. So basically, in a genocide case against Israel at The Hague, the U.S. is the unnamed co-conspirator. South Africa laid out a meticulous case detailing Israel's genocidal intent. The U.S. supported it all. So this case is today the 11th. This came out today. So South Africa has recognized the ongoing Nakba against the Palestinian people. Someone in our group who has not, no, that's not what I say. Somebody else, run down what happened in South Africa. Why is this important that it's South Africa saying this?
Take it away, Larry. Take it away.
Why is it important that South Africa is saying this?
Yeah, because you know a lot of the liberals in the walls and our baby anarchists, or I mean, wow, that was a Freudian slip, or
That was a
baby
lot.
leftists might not might not understand what's the deal with South Africa.
Well, South Africa for many decades was living under a system called apartheid, which many have compared Israel to South Africa as an apartheid state. I would, and many people have argued that Israel is worse than an apartheid state. They, I mean, they're full settler colonial with genocidal aspirations. There's no other way to put that, as we've seen throughout their history, coming from the Nakba to today, and before that even. So yeah, the fact that it is the South African government that is bringing up the charges of genocide against Israel in the Hague is very poignant, and it tells you something about people who went through similar circumstances and have gone through similar circumstances.
Right.
May know what they're talking about when it comes to these matters.
Right. South Africa's ambassador to the Netherlands opened his government's historic suit at the International Court of Justice in The Hague, Netherlands, changing the state of Israel with multiple charging violations of genocidal convention during its 3-month siege of Gaza. South Africa, a nation whose population suffered for decades under an apartheid regime backed by the U.S., has embarked on its historic effort to prosecute Israel for its genocidal war against the people of Gaza. Its 84-page filing at the ICJ is a harrowing document. It meticulously details. It offers an overview of murderous campaign waged against the civilian population under the fraudulent cover of self-defense, which is exactly what they just said about Yemen. It lays out the horrifying scope of Israel's destruction in Gaza of human life, civilian infrastructure, history, and culture, and paints a devastating picture of the grave conditions faced by those Palestinians who have managed to survive. The charges describe an exponentially brutal military campaign by Israel in Gaza, which is extensive and ongoing, in which Israel intends to intensify further still. South African lawyers argued Israel has engaged in and failed to prevent or to push acts and measures which are genocidal, constituting flagrant violation of Israel's obligations under the Genocide Convention. South Africa's filing cites sources of genocidal statements made by Israel's government and military officials, lawmakers, and former officials describing Israel's intentions in Gaza. In October 7th, it spans some 9 pages. It is difficult to imagine an honest argument that some of these statements, including Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, invoking the biblical tale of the Israelites' collective killing of men, women, and children and livestock of Amalek, do not constitute an announcement of genocidal intent. So, yeah, basically what they're saying is committing a genocide, we're going to take you to The Hague. And the United States is a co-conspirator, which we know that for sure. The significance of this is that the United States official policy is that if they are ever tried in The Hague, or a military serviceman or politician is tried in The Hague, that they are authorized to use military force and all means necessary to rescue that person from The Hague, which would include what they just did to Yemen, but to Europe. The United States has no true allies. They will target whoever, anybody, to get their way. Whether it's, and once it's white Europeans, you're really going to see an even more explosive, in-your-face fascism as people try to justify the United States' genocidal war goals. Anyone have anything to say before I look at this article?
Yeah, kill the bower, kill the farmer.
Baller. 77 groups worldwide back a genocide lawsuit against Biden U.S. court. Dozens of legal and civil society organizations from around the world have thrown their weight behind a U.S. lawsuit accusing President Joe Biden, Secretary of State Antony Blinken, and Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin for failing to prevent an unfolding genocide in Gaza. In late December, 77 groups representing tens of thousands of lawyers, civil society leaders, and activists from 6 continents filed an amicus brief in a lawsuit that Palestinian human rights organizations, residents of Gaza, and U.S. citizens with family members impacted by Israel's ongoing assault brought against the Biden administration. In the brief, which is an avenue for groups not directly involved in a lawsuit to give the court information to consider in its ruling, the organization argued that the plaintiffs established that a genocide or serious risk of genocide of Palestinians in Gaza is occurring. They also argued that the U.S. is violating its duties under international law to prevent and not to be complacent in genocide, and that those U.S. failures contribute to the erosion of long and widely held norms of international law, including the Genocidal Convention of Universal Declaration of Human Rights, both established in 1948 in the wake of World War II. So it's pretty interesting because while these are still measures within the bourgeois system, bourgeois governments and bourgeois courts, there is a breaking. There is a crack that is forming along these lines where people are no longer able to ignore the crimes that the fascist state perpetuates. And it's only going to be a matter of time until more of these people who operate in these bourgeois realms are going to seek other means. And once you have more well-established, more moneyed group of people doing that, who can then help more of the destitute and the poor who already come to these conclusions, you're going to have a very serious, the bourgeois will have a very serious problem.
Mm-hmm. And then the one thing too is that the United States, none of the major news outlets are covering what's going on, like with South America taking, Israel to the international court for genocide, and
South Africa.
South Africa. I apologize, and there's no coverage of it at all whatsoever. I mean, I think Azerbaijan is the YouTube channel is probably one of the only YouTube channels that are kind of live streaming it. I believe there's like a few more, but that's where I was watching it earlier, and I have not seen no news coverage because the United States, they know they're guilty, and the last thing that the news media here, the last thing it wants to do is to broadcast that to U.S. citizens and to for them to watch it. The South Africa even released a PDF file, explaining every single thing that Israel has done to the Palestinians, which includes indiscriminately bombing them, deny them access to food and water, and obvious war crimes and signs of genocide. And they even have, it's amazing what South Africa has provided us because they even during the hearing, they were pulling up TikToks from IDF soldiers who were dancing basically on rubble of Palestinians' homes. And there's even some videos with IDF soldiers blowing up Palestinian homes, and they're just just joking around about it. It's almost like the same humor as like a Nazi. It's honestly disgusting. And so what South Africa is doing is, it's history. I mean, no one else is really doing it, and South Africa has experienced that. And so W South Africa, and I'll say it again, kill the Boer and kill the farmer. And I will say Julius Malema is not the prime minister, I believe, of South Africa, but he should be.
Baller. So that's pretty much the two major news stories that we have for today. I know that took a while to get through, so I think we'll kind of try to compartmentalize
and just
the original.
Brief updates on Yemen because they're coming through. The Houthis have told the aggressor countries to expect a response. And Saudi Arabia has chimed in saying they are watching very closely as to what's about to happen.
Yeah. I mean,
which Saudi Arabia has been doing shit to Yemen for years.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think I just think it's funny that this morning before the strikes, I saw an article. I didn't read it, but I only saw the headline where the intelligence agencies were saying, don't be surprised if there's a 9/11 type attack in the US. And I'm like, because they know what they're getting themselves into. And the US would be okay with letting something like that happen because it only justifies their existence and their ability to oppress people around the world even more. It's wild. I don't know how else, but it's just pretty wild. But
we are
Well,
more than willing to sacrifice as many of our own if it means
going to war.
keep going to war and keeping control.
right.
The idea that
Sorry,
Hezbollah, the Houthis, or Hamas have the capability of striking within the U.S. borders is ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's more manufacturing consent. I'm not, I don't like to get into conspiracy territory, but
Northwoods.
if something were to occur in the U.S., it's likely to have been a domestic incident that they will pin on a foreign interest. There's unlikely, by all measures, for any of those three groups, Hamas, Hezbollah, or the Houthis, to be able to strike within U.S. borders. But what that does is it frightens the people, the masses who have a memory of what happened on 9/11, into complicity with the capitalist classes' aggressions and imperialism across the world, but specifically in this arena in the Middle East right now. That's exactly what they hope to accomplish with that.
Want to address this comment real quick. The U.S. is also quite invested in its military complex, so war may be to an extent beneficial to a large portion of the bourgeois and the empire. Yeah, no, well, that's exactly it. This is war makes money.
Imperialism is a high stage of capitalism. Yeah.
Yeah, like we saw it when Russia invaded. I should say when Russia retaliated against NATO and started invading the territories in Ukraine. Raytheon, Boeing, Lockheed stocks all went up because people know that we can make money, and we're going to keep this conflict going for as long as we can. Because we know ideologically and politically not a whole heck of a lot is going to change. We know that we don't want to directly fight Russia right now, so why don't we just line our pockets? I remember I saw an article. It was in Italian. I think it was about a year ago. I saw this where the Italian police raided some kind of warehouse and they found a ton of U.S. weapons in it, and they all came from Ukraine because there's plenty of interviews and eyewitness accounts, documentation of people who go over to Ukraine or now Ukrainian-born fighters who are like, yeah, we'll be in a convoy delivering stuff, and then one of these trucks will just drive away, and like nobody says anything, nobody does anything about it. Like, it's a scam. Capitalism really is just a scam. But
a huge scam.
You see, you're telling me you hate freedom, brother?
I hate freedom for the bourgeois. Yes.
No freedom for them.
Yeah.
They don't get freedom under a different arrangement that we all support.
Right. So
labor camps or brick wall?
The ones in
Mine
labor
shaft.
camps can build
Labor
brick
camps.
walls.
My vote is labor camps.
Labor camps are nice.
You just said
we have to
you
watch,
just said give them the wall.
Yeah, give them the wall if they're doing it right in front of you.
Yeah.
You got to stop them right away. But if somebody else catches them, make them build the wall. Make them build the items in which you use for the wall on other individuals.
Baller.
Yeah, we're just living. We're living to see Jeff Bezos have to work in his own fulfillment centers, and he gets no shit breaks.
All I want is
he doesn't get them. He's got to piss in the bottle.
Yeah, I want Jeff Bezos to piss in a bottle.
You know what I really would want to see? I want to see Jeff Bezos deliver a package to somebody's house, and there's like a really scary dog like in a yard, and he's just like standing there like really nervous because he doesn't know what to do, if he should go into the yard, but he has like an electric collar, so if he just stands there for too
Like,
long, like it
shocks
starts zapping him. Yeah, so it's either it's which way, Western man, the dog or the spark. Anyway, so damn, we yapped for a while, so let's
Nope.
try to
Yeah.
let's try to encapsulate sort of what the original topic was, which was what I've been saying, so-called left-wing opportunism, because there are a lot of people on the internet, on Discord, on TikTok, on YouTube, who basically co-opt the aesthetics of liberation politics to make money, to get clout. The top ones I can name on YouTube, being Vouch, being Destiny, on X or Twitter being Haas Infrared. And then there's a couple people on TikTok, such as Rathbone. I think to an extent.
What?
I think
Oh
to
my god!
I think to an extent, some individuals, like Eddie Liger Smith, where maybe he didn't initially start that way, and maybe that's not his intention right now. It's definitely a little suspect for me. And there's a lot. I mean, there's a whole list that we can go on and on about it. But I think, Larry, I had asked you to kind of give us the rundown about Vash and Destiny. If you just kind of want to summarize that, and if we can try to tie as much of this as possible to the events of today, and how maybe we could sort of predict or ascertain how these people are going to talk about these topics starting tonight and tomorrow, because they're rubbing their hands together
If they haven't already posted.
Yeah. So
right.
with people, the left opportunists, right opportunists, however you want to call them, they're deviations for the working class. People like Destiny, I don't even think Destiny actually claims to be any sort of even a
Yeah,
socialist.
he's just a liberal.
He's
Just
an
a liberal.
omni-liberal. That's what he calls himself.
Right. But what people like that, and there's another particular, there's Keffels is another account on YouTube that is a large audience that engages with YouTube and streaming, and they exist to essentially keep the working class tethered to the Democratic Party. They use the aesthetics and some of the language of actual proletarian politics, left-wing politics, but argue against any sort of action that would cause the working class to actually move forward and depart from the Democratic Party, while the overwhelming amount of working class people, there are some still that are tethered to the Republican Party, but that's a little bit more rare. But largely the so-called progressive movement, the U.S. left, is tethered still to the Democratic Party, and they want to keep that so. They want to keep it that way. You will see them go out and slander anyone that is close to his left of them. They don't even have to be. You'll see them slander people like Hassan. I'm sure everybody knows Hassan Piker. You'll see them slander the deprogram folks, and they do this in order. They paint those people as being either unrealistic or quote authoritarian, in order to keep the broader masses, the working class, away from engaging with real revolutionary politics. Why do they do this? Because they are liberals. It is against their class interests. Liberals down to the person have those who are liberal agitators. I won't say every liberal out there has this, but liberals, they're not our friends. They all, down to the person, have petite bourgeois aspirations. All of them. They basically do what's told to them by management or the Democratic Party. That's what they do. And they will dissuade the working class from any sort of movement away from that, home base where they're sitting right now, which is confused and unable to organize. That is what opportunism is, and we have to combat it at every opportunity, because especially that's not those particular creators in general. Those particular creators are a small wing of the liberal establishment. But it's the greatest threat to the left wing, to the working class in the United States right now, is the Democratic Party and those who propagandize for the Democratic Party, for the State Department line, who are pro-war, who reject the notion of revolutionary defeatism, which has long been the doctrine of Marxist-Leninist parties, working class parties, for a century now.
I think you said that really beautifully. Yeah, I don't really have much to add to that. I mean, liberals are not our friends.
They are not our friends, and ultimately they are going to look out for their individual brand and before any revolutionary act. And even if they say stuff that sounds correct, because that's the thing, is they're going to say stuff that sounds absolutely correct. They have to, whether they believe it or not, because that's what draws the people in, because they're agitated with the system. But like Larry said, they're always going to stop short of actually advocating for real revolution by downplaying the actual revolutions that have occurred.
Not even real revolution, just departing from the Democratic Party and building a coalition that we can actually start to really push. Like it goes beyond, like they're not even like sock Dems, to a point, are anti-revolutionary, but like liberals are far worse. Far worse. They won't even allow the working class to build an independent movement that can we have to join the political and the
it's not the right time right now, Larry.
Right. That's always their slogan.
We'll do it later.
Right,
and this is the most important election of our lives.
We have to have both a political program, because the masses are still going to the polls, less and less.
Pokemon, go to the polls.
Right. They're still going there, so we still have to have some sort of representation there, in addition to the IRL organizing with unions and cooperatives and so on. So they don't want any of that. They want you to stay beholden to the Democratic Party, because the Democratic Party benefits their position, which is usually labor aristocracy,
right?
Or petite bourgeois.
These are the kind of people who say things like, "Well, I want change, but not too quickly. Let it, happen naturally. Let it simmer, And it lies in bourgeois decadence and liberal comfort, But I don't want to. But I want to watch Netflix at home, I don't want to think about the bad things, and neither do I. But my conscience, I have to do something about it.
They can't even, like, we had a discussion a couple of days ago where, like, I could understand in certain positions, in certain periods of time, you could say, well, the movement isn't strong enough. It's not the right time because literally the movement doesn't exist. And so I'm not going to withhold my vote because I would rather just, go for a lesser evil candidate. So 2016 would have been that time. But right now we have the Democratic Party literally funding a genocide. And even under these circumstances, these people cannot be brought to withhold their vote because it's not the right time.
Right.
That says all you need to know about what liberals are and many sock dems and pseudo left types, opportunists.
Baller.
And what is important to them is ultimately their class position, which is usually, as I said, petite bourgeois. That's their aspiration. That's their position.
Right. And what I noticed too, especially with some of the TikTok quote unquote leftists, like there's this one leftist, they're usually palm colored white guys. They were like, yeah, if so what Biden is doing, the genocide he's doing is bad, but you should still vote for Biden, because if Trump goes in, it's gonna get worse. And if more people die, it's your fault. And that's kind of like the mindset they have, is it's like, that's why I usually don't trust, like I want people to explicitly say I'm a communist or I'm a socialist or I'm an anarchist or whatever, because if you label yourself under the umbrella of leftist, it's like, I don't know what kind of leftist you are. I mean, some leftists still advocate for people to vote for this genocidal maniac, and they're like, if you don't vote for him, it's going to get worse, and it's going to be all your fault. And it's disgusting, man, honestly.
Left refers to bourgeois parliament.
I was going to say some people describe liberals as leftists. Like they'll include liberals as leftists, so it's like their term is meaningless.
Yeah, 100%. That's why I duetted the video, and I was like, I mean, me personally, I don't go under that umbrella. I'm just Marxist-Leninist, but I did say that leftism starts at anti-capitalism. No ifs or buts about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and if you can't even get on board with that, then
then you're not going to get on board.
Yeah, then you're not going to get on board. Your interests lie with the bourgeois.
I was curious while you were talking, Larry, and I was just like, what are these creators doing right now? So I looked up like Hassan he's live on Twitch, but he's talking about like it looked like he was talking about some congressional stuff, or like Trump he's watching a video or something. Destiny's not online currently, and then Vosh has emergency stream, America strikes Yemen, and the chat is just like just nonsense.
Yeah. Well, to be clear though, I did want to say that Hassan I don't count as among the Destiny crowd. They've attacked him.
No, recently. They have extreme beef. Actually, what was it that we were talking about? Was it Vosh and extreme Destiny beef. And maybe they declared war on tankies.
Yeah.
And including Hassan and the program.
The program crews.
Right. And it's utter nonsense. Like they're declaring war because they are selling their brand. They want their Twitch subscribers to go up. That's all it is.
Right. No,
Hassan's cool. Hassan's cool.
He's honestly unironically becoming more of a tanky like every day, honestly, and I'm here for it. I'm waiting for the full blown Stalinist Hassan era, and he stays there. That would be really cool. I'm sure he's not a Marxist-Leninist, but he's a lot better than that omni-liberal and that Vosh cult.
Right. I think like a while ago, like a few years ago, he called himself a revisionist Marxist-Leninist.
Yeah, I remember he was specifically watching an Azure.
He was watching a
video or something, and
he was watching the Azure Scapegoat.
We're all revisionists. It's okay.
Yeah, it showed like a chart, and it was like the furthest left here, and then a little less left, and he's like, "I'm about right here."
Yeah.
But that was like also years ago at this point.
Yeah, and the point of this exercise to point these things out is not to like engage with the personalities. The people are who they are. Their positions exist and have existed throughout since capitalism and real socialism or opposition to capitalism has been a thing since the 1880s. 1870s. We've seen this happen over and over and over, and these people, their names may change, the faces may change, but their positions are the same thing. They're here to dissuade the workers from engaging in seizing power.
There will always be the Trotskyites and the Koskyites, and the liberals.
Yeah.
Right.
Their
And-
personalities are meaningless. Their positions are
Yeah.
what we have to fight.
Yeah,
And it's important
so-
not to focus too much on the personality. You don't know these people.
Yeah.
Right.
What
It's
are they
all-
Don't want to.
right. No. And it's all.
I mean, the
it's all-
personality it does indicate the ideology. To be
Yes.
fair,
To be
Because a
fair,
lot of these
it's
liberals are not liberals because they truly believe what they're saying. Is because it's a cope with the fact that they're terrible people a lot of the time and literally don't give a shit about brown people abroad and want to use that liberalism as a means to justify how they're a high-minded, intelligent individual and how actually that's perfectly okay. You know what I mean? So
WTF.
their
Yeah.
personality isn't itself the issue with their position, but their position is a result of their personality being a dog shit human.
yeah, baller.
it's all related. Big
W.
circle.
So to kind of with Keffel's Destiny, and Vash particularly to tie them back into so Vash is having the emergency stream or whatever. I guarantee you he's going to talk about how the strikes in Yemen are good, and backing up some kind of U.S. hemorrhage in the area. He's going to say, well, those poor crew members on those boats, they'll be able to finally, go to Israel and bring Israel more bombs, and that's somehow a good thing. And that's the thing. That's the point that I'm trying to make here, is that he calls himself, last time I checked, an anarchist, but some kind of left, whatever. But he always backs U.S. hegemony. There is nothing for us to back the U.S. up with. What is there? I can't think of a single thing.
Nope.
And anything that you
freedom of speech, brother.
No, shut down the line. You know what I think about your freedom of speech, brother? I'm just joking. Come back.
I imagine that the stream right now is something like, oh, I don't necessarily agree with the U.S. striking Yemen, but Yemen did attack. So it is perfectly reasonable and understandable why the United States would strike, and they are perfectly within their right to strike back. Therefore, if this wants to end, Yemen just needs to stop with the blockade.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that would be the stance that I imagine is happening right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Typical liberal.
moving in a I guess a more right direction.
Hmm.
Not right isn't correct, but right wing. Muerte, you want to talk to us? We've talked about him on the podcast before. Our friend, not friend, Haz Infrared.
Yeah, we could talk about the Hazites and the Hinkles and the Hazites. So these my thought is these guys will be supporting the Houthis and they support Hamas, but it's not in the way that you think. I mean, a lot of these, especially Jackson Hinkle before the Palestinian conflict, they supported Netanyahu and Israel for the sake of a multipolar world. So it's an obvious grift. I mean, on it's mainly on Twitter too, because if you know X or Twitter, then every post you get and the amount of engagement you get, you start getting paid because Elon Musk started paying people for the amount of engagement they got because the app was dying. But anyways, he is like super prevalent on there, and he's moved his grift over to TikTok, and they are right-wing opportunists. A lot of them are really reactionary, dogmatic. I would straight up call them Strasserites. They are really connected with the LaRouche and Dugan cult. And just a quick summary on who LaRouche and Dugan are. What is LaRouche started off as he was interested in Marxism, and then later on in his life moved towards a more right-wing position. He was really at first sympathetic, but then he just started becoming really reactionary. They're part of the Schiller Institute, and it's just a lot of it is really like national, like they're really like nationalists. They really love to appeal to the right wing. I mean, I've noticed a lot of MAGAs or MAGA communists. They have explicitly said that they are only going to be targeting and trying to reach out to the real working class that that is the MAGA movement. They believe that the MAGA movement is the only movement to push us towards the to a revolution, I guess, or to. But the thing is, they don't advocate for people to actually go out and organize. They mainly just do this on Twitter. I'd say that it's just a small bubble that they're in on Twitter. They usually like to just frame nationalism as like patriotic, like be patriotic for your country and love your country. They really do alienate themselves. Some of them, some Hinkles and Housites, they love to argue that the support for Donald Trump, because they do use Donald Trump as a sort of a figurehead or they know that the cult of personality that Trump has around him, so they're trying to leverage that to their way, and so they say they don't necessarily endorse him, and they're not going to vote for him. That they're just in a way only doing so they could deceive the quote unquote real working class that are people who are in construction, and they don't really consider baristas and retail workers to be working class and things like that. Is super reactionary. They've shown to be super reactionary. They have a lot of anti-LGBTQI rhetoric. They and again, that goes back to appealing to the right wing, to the quote unquote working class, because they believe that it's almost backwards. It is backwards that they don't need to change. They don't need to educate and tell these people why it's wrong. They are just kind of like, it's okay. They openly use slurs, the F word, R word, things like that. They are basically Nazguls of America. And a lot of people usually don't know who they are, especially on TikTok. So, which is a good thing. I mean, they're kind of isolated in a little bubble. I mean, they may be growing a little bit on Twitter, but I mean, that's about it. Haas is kind of like their their figurehead. Let's just say they all will support the Hamas and Palestine on this conflict, but just for the same reasons as Destiny and Vosh, especially Haas, to get more subscribers to their podcast, and for a lot of the right wing opportunists that are the MAGA cults, they have subscriptions on Twitter, so people can subscribe to their Twitter to learn more information about what's going on, with geopolitics. And so yeah, it's I think you guys are well aware. I mean, I will be making a video just slide that in there if anybody's curious in the future. But it's a right wing opportunism at best, and my only response is brick. I mean, some people argue that that they're actually spreading some people don't really care. They just go that they're spreading the word, which is I mean, it's good that the word is going out, the empire and what's going on in Palestine and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, they're profiting off of genocide, and I can't respect that, and I will call that out. As any Marxist-Leninist, principal Marxist-Leninist should. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure that they know what they're doing 100%, and it's just a grift, brother. We gotta end it, and it will end.
Baller response. God damn.
Grifts will come and go.
Sorry, had to yap away.
No, we're all here for the yap session on the Yap Pod. Should call this the Yap Podcast, not the Kollective Podcast.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, exactly. I agree with everything you said. They grift and they're here to make money. They'll support genocide trying to do it. They're no better at all than the capitalists, than the bourgeois, than the fascists, and they get the wall, they get the brick.
Well, I like to say that they're fascists. They're just too cowardly to openly admit it. They love to use communism as an aesthetic and an aesthetic only. I mean, they probably believe in some, some theory, but for the most part, they love to they're nationalists, but they frame it as patriotic. They're trying to deceive the working class, and I'm here to call that bullshit out and tell them don't fall for it.
I
Unfortunately,
mean, they literally like Pol Pot.
yeah, they advocate
Right.
for Bhopal, which was a CIA. Yeah, they do, and I think half of it is being edgy, and then the other half is they're serious. Like a lot of them are serious. Like, yeah,
All
there's
it takes
this.
is one serious one to where you just have to go, okay, they're probably all serious about this if they're not calling him out.
They are
Mhm.
100% Nazis. Fascists.
Yeah, and like I like to say this.
There's no maybes. They exist in the same way that liberals do to dissuade genuine organization among the working class. They exist to split the working class, to cause division and dissuade organization. That's what opportunism is.
And there is a quote that I heard, and I will confirm this in the video or not. But LaRouche believed in he didn't believe in countering communist movements head on. He believed infiltrating these movements and trying to destroy it from within, which is exactly what the infrared MAGA communist cult is doing. Is they're trying to infiltrate the left and trying to sway people from organizing to adopt their reactionary views. And yeah, it's really obvious, and they're definitely Nazis. Brick wall is all I gotta say.
Mussolini treatment. All right, Cruz. I think you're up, but I feel like a lot of what Marte said can pretty much kind of tie into.
Yeah, I was like a lot of what both Larry and Marte have said can kind of tie in. But real quick, just kind of on the TikTok side, the main one that we were talking about recently was Rathbone, who just sort of makes
Oh, brother,
this
this guy stinks.
Yeah.
who, me or Rathbone? Me?
That's a soundboard clip right there.
But essentially, he makes content, and all of the content lately has been very pro-Palestine and talking against Israeli genocide. And he tends to do everything sort of in a skit format with like sarcastic tone and things like that. And recently, I believe the name was Salma. Correct me if I'm wrong there.
Yes.
A Palestinian woman had spoken up about an event that took place in Qatar, where they had done interviews and invited a bunch of content creators, including Rathbone, who had raised like $10,000.
Why the fuck is he there?
Go to Qatar to do this interview. And what Salma was calling out was the fact that no Palestinian creators or activists or none of them were invited to talk about the genocide in Palestine, which is par for the course, because anytime there's a peace agreement, Palestine is almost never invited. And Rathbone's response to that was to explain what a two-state solution was to this person. Extremely condescending, and rightfully Rathbone had been called out. But even in the apology, with genuine or not, the performance was still there, like the shtick, the sarcastic tone. And it's hard to look at people like that and hear them talk about these very real issues and almost dedicating their page to those issues and not feel as though they're not genuine and that they don't actually believe what they're saying. They're just trying to get people to come to their page, to get views to their page, to promote their personal brand or whatever it is they're trying to sell. In the case of Rathbone, if you look at the creator's name, it's actually Rathbone Makes Music. So it's really just to get people to the page to look at the music career.
And the music sucks.
The music's very mid.
Oh, it's so fun.
And it's and with Rathbone in particular, it's not necessarily to say that I feel he might believe some of the stuff, but there's no principle behind it. There's no genuine like we need to do this. It's purely come to my page, listen to my music.
Different sort of opportunism, an opportunism for personal gain rather than to dissuade the workers from doing anything.
Yeah, I don't
They're just
see
trying to make money off of it.
Yeah, I don't see Rathbone as like I'm gonna destroy the left or anything like we do with the other people that we were just talking about, but it's definitely personal growth over revolution or over educating the working class, over like that's always the top. And if it happens to line up, then it works great. But then we see in cases like with Salma where it didn't line up, and yeah.
Do we know his political stance? Is like we know he's a leftist. Is he libertarian socialist?
I believe he describes himself as an anarchist.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, you know, the typical cringe.
Typical cringe. And that, you know what? And that makes sense because as Comrade Ash had pointed out, so there was $13,000 involved because when he
13,000. Okay, I thought
Yeah,
it was 10,000.
Let's
It was
say 10
13.
to 13.
To my
13, yeah.
knowledge.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
5 digits.
Even worse.
So basically,
5 fucking digits. They fundraise to go on vacation.
A lot of money, yeah. To go to this, to go to this event in Qatar, and he went on one of those Kickstarter websites or whatever, and was basically said, "I need money and funds, whatever." Which I understand that because we did something very similar, and all you guys came out and we raised, $600 to do, our trip to DC, and he needed, I think, $1,000 is what he asked for because he needed to do like an expedited passport and some last minute things. Not a crazy amount of money. He ended up getting over to 13,000, and he said that basically his response was, "Well, I'm a teacher and I don't make that much money, so like I'm just gonna take it on whatever." And basically, after the fact, people were like, "You should probably give that money back."
I thought he said something along the lines of like any extra money would be going to people in Gaza.
Well, I don't know if that ever happened.
Like that.
Yeah,
but
so.
I don't know. I could be wrong, but
I'm gonna guess no.
I mean, if I was a grifter, I'd say the same thing.
Right.
But I need some receipts.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. It's just crazy what these people can get away with. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But yeah, so basically he is somebody who has, who read left Twitter accounts and tweets and videos and whatever, and then essentially spit them back out verbatim. So people will then, see him and follow him and like him, and he got a lot of followers because he's something about mid-white men have a hold on people on TikTok. And he's got, I don't know how many, but he's got a lot of followers. And basically what would happen is he would come up in a viral video, and then you would see, oh, he's live, and you would click on live, and then he's playing his music, and in order to sell you his merch and his CDs. Now, I want to emphasize something here, that you're on Kollectiv YouTube right now, watching another organization do their thing. And, I want to emphasize that, like I actually said earlier in our Discord server, while we are doing YouTube and making content where our content is propaganda, we're not making content about propaganda. Like we are actively pushing a narrative to achieve particular goals. And I'm not going to hide that fact. But if Kollectiv disappeared tomorrow, we would still be doing what we do, whether alone or together, because this is what we believe in. This is what we do. And we will continue to attempt to stay principled and not end up like these types where I want you to buy my CD, by the way. Like the documentary we're making, for example, like I'm not planning to sell that. You know what I mean? Like that's none of us are. Like that's just, just watch it. Like, you know what I mean? That's all I want you to do is just watch it and share it and spread the message. But that's how these grifters are. But to kind of get on sort of the end here of a different kind of grifter that I wanted to talk about. Now, originally, I wanted to I wanted to show clips of the interactions that we had, but I feel like with the news of today, it's kind of inappropriate, and I think would also will go well past the 2-hour mark. But basically, one of our fellow comrades has been hosting lives on TikTok pretty regularly, where a few of us will go and hang out and just kind of chill and vibe, vibing and chilling. And basically,
Reference.
little reference right there. And basically, we would just hang out. It never was not. It's not a debate space. It's actually Comrade Kardashian's live on TikTok. If you ever get a chance to stop in there, hang out, talk shop, whatever. So I was in there with Cutie Pie, Ash, Aria, and a couple other TikTokers. And we were just doing our thing, and a former mutual of mine, frustrated. Is it frustrated black leftist or just frustrated leftist?
It's
Pretty sure
frustrating.
Black
Black leftist, yeah.
All right, yeah, okay, I figured. Came in, and I've liked their videos in the past. I never had an issue with them up until today. So to kind of paint the picture, when I was scrolling through the live and or scrolling through TikTok, and I saw that Cutie, Ash, and the gang were on the live, and so was he, I was like, oh, okay, let me hop in. And like it was immediate tension, like something had occurred. And I'm like trying to figure out like basically like what happened, like some kind of argument transpired. And basically this was a person who, and all these people that we brought up, the Destiny, Vouch, Oz, whatever, and Rathbone, they not only are co-opting aesthetics, but even if they have a myconium of a belief in the systems, which most of them don't, but if they even do, they lack the heart to connect with people on a human level. And if you cannot do that, you cannot build community. And if you cannot build community, you will not build a revolution. It's brothers in arms for a reason. It's the nation for a reason. It's the proletariat, the working people for a reason. You have to see each other for who each other are on a personal human level. And if you can't, if you can recite literature, which you did incorrectly many times, you will not be able to win the hearts and minds. So basically, and I'll try to kind of summarize it, like I said, because I don't want to show the clips just for appropriate sake. But basically, this was a person that when encountered with other people who did not have, or at least in his perception, did not have the same kind of knowledge that he believed he possessed, he would react to them with an intellectual superiority and grifting. So, for example, in the beginning of the live, before I showed up, somebody had joined, and I think it was Dimes, actually, on TikTok, and they were talking about World War II, and Dimes, I'm not going to say it's Dimes because I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was.
I mean, you said it enough now.
But
I'll let
now
you
I
know. I remember.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, so somebody said, didn't the Nazis fail to invade Poland in World War II? Not everybody's going to know all the things, and that's okay. And it was a genuine question. It was Dimes.
Mhm.
And this person literally was like, what do you, yeah, they invaded Poland. Like, how do you not know that? Like, yeah, they were very successful in invading. And it was just very like, I know more than you. And like, again, man, not everybody's going to know all that kind of stuff. And when you approach people like that, you're not going to want people to talk to you. But basically, this person began to they're Trotskyite, like that's the spoiler, and they began to promote the concepts of permanent revolution. But the way they had brought it up instead of just owning up to the fact that they're a Trotskyite and they believe in permanent revolution. When they were talking to Comrade Ash, Ash does this thing that I think is one of my favorite things about her, and just how she's clever, is she lets people yap themselves into a hole, where she'll basically be like, ooh, I don't know, why don't you explain it to me? And then these dudes get really arrogant and they'll just kind of start, saying and rizzing and whatever. And then she'll kind of hit them with like, isn't that and then XYZ. So he's explaining, permanent revolution without saying it's permanent revolution. And then she hits him with the, isn't that permanent revolution? And he's kind of like, oh yeah, well, that's kind of what it is. And we're Marxist Leninists, we don't believe in the Trotsky school of thought. We don't believe in permanent revolution. It's a very flawed, silly idea that will not work. It didn't work then, and it won't work in the modern day. So when they began to have more of a conversation with Ash, who was an anarchist, began to study more Marxist Leninist thought, they would say, like, you shouldn't read both theories at the same time, like you're gonna get confused, there's a lot of contradictions. And if you really paid attention to how this person was talking, you would start to pick up on the fact that they really didn't understand what they were saying. So like when Ash says, I'm reading both kinds of theories, and they say you shouldn't do that, there's a lot of contradictions. Well, life has contradictions. That's literally the whole point of understanding dialectics as well, is understanding where the contradictions occur in material reality, because there are plenty. You throw a ball in the air, the ball comes back down. That's a contradiction. That's a very simple version to put it, but that is what that is. And basically, to kind of summarize everything that happened, is they began to discuss how particular individuals within the proletariat do not have particular revolutionary potential. And it was very Haas-esque Patsock behavior as well. So they were talking about how disabled people don't have the same revolutionary potential. Medical people don't have revolutionary potential. Stay-at-home moms don't have revolutionary potential. Baristas don't have revolutionary potential because they are not working in the heavy industry sectors. This is where this grifter who believes, and again, they're a different kind of grifter, because I don't think they're trying to sell anything besides, Trotskyism, but they're trying to sell the idea that they're an intellectual and they have pretty decent following on TikTok. And as soon as they get a little bit of pushback, they basically melt and freak out. So this person, like I said, they made these statements about who these people are and their relevance to revolution and their potential. And what frustrated Black leftists fails to understand is that it's not 1912 anymore. It's 2024. The productive forces in this country have changed. 70% of the U.S. workforce is in the service industry. So if you're just hoping to particularly target those who work and those who are left working in the heavy industry sectors to actually have revolutionary potential, instead of talking to moms or dads or baristas or nurses or teachers or disabled people who can't work, who rely on a measly $2,000 a month to survive, then you're not going to win. You're not interested in winning. You're not interested in communism or building a society that was free and fair and equal for all. You're interested in your own self-masturbatory behavior. To kind of cap it off, at one point after they got heated, I'll be nice and just leave it at that. But basically, someone else had come into the TikTok and was basically disputing the labor theory of value. I think I said that backwards, but I think you guys know what I'm saying. But basically, they had asked him a question, and he said, "Oh, well, read Capital." And the person was like, "Well, what do you mean?" And they're like, "Well, just read it. Read all the volumes. That's what Marx said. Read all the volumes." And the guy's like, it sounds like a cheap cope. Because if that's your answer to a genuine question, just read X, Y, and Z, then you have failed to understand what you've read. And as Cutie pointed out, Marx only wrote one volume of Capital. So to even state, oh yeah, Marx, wrote all 4 volumes of Capital, like read all of his works in Capital, is objectively incorrect. It was just very much, like I said, this I am smarter than you, and that's all I need.
I've read all 6 volumes of Capital.
Right. Yeah. Then I'm smarter than you. I don't need to meet you halfway. I don't need to meet you as a human being. I don't need to actually socialize with you. He made a particular.
That's why thoughts are flawed.
Absolutely.
Because they don't want to go in and educate the masses. They're like, we're going to go in steamroll, and you're going to be a communist because I said so. Read this book instead of going in there and being like, here, read this. This is how you could apply this to material conditions and why and how. And but maybe I'm just reaching.
It speaks to their complete misunderstanding of what we're doing when we read Marx, when we educate ourselves with this theory. Marx is important to read in order to grasp the concepts of dialectical and historical materialism and then apply them to your conditions now. In Marx's time, the shop owners that are now retail workers, they've been proletarianized. Back then, shop owners who wound up purchasing and then getting the goods that were produced by the proletariat, the industrial proletariat of their day, into the market were petite bourgeoisie. As capitalism's developed, those petite bourgeoisie, sure, there's still small shop owners of it, but the mass amount of retail is objectively proletarian, even if they're not doing the actual physical part of the productive labor. They are still getting that. At this point, capitalism has developed to where it's no longer a petite bourgeois position to get the product, the commodity, into the market, into the consumer's hands, and you can argue against that, and we could have an argument that would go all night about this, but you have to look. The point is, they look at theory, they read it and memorize a few lines and say that this is objective because I can quote this and this. But they're not looking at today's material reality. And yes, we have to, the revolutionary potential of, non-proletariat workers is, sure, it's limited, like the lumpen proletariat, so-called. And we're not looking for a lumpen proletariat revolution. We're looking to have a proletariat revolution. But as we've seen in practice, the peasantry, the lumpen proletariat are always involved. And even the petite bourgeoisie in some cases are always involved in these things. And you want as many of them whose interest is going to be to build socialism to be on your side. So to sit there and be condescending and say that, there's no potential in you. There's no potential in you. You're serving the, really you're just separate. You're not doing anything to split the working class. You're just making yourself look like an asshole, but you're giving people bad ideas as to what revolution is and to who. If you want to look to organization and theories of organization, look into Mao, look into Ho Chi Minh, look into Che, look into Lenin. These people knew what they were doing, and it's applicable today, all of it still. But we have to apply it to our material conditions. And having a true understanding of dialectical and historical materialism, you'll be able to figure out who is an ally and who is going to be an enemy.
Absolutely. And any of these revolutionary figures as well, to share some details from that interaction that I had. from this intellectual grifter was somebody in the life had basically whose mom had asked them, do moms have stay-at-home moms have revolutionary potential? And he blatantly said, he's like, no. Any of these revolutionary figures that we've studied in the past, we never look at a mom who would genuinely ask them in person when they had these events and speeches and whatever. Is like, well, what about me? Would never look at any of these women and be like, you, not you, like,
You fool.
Trotsky probably would have said that.
Well, Trotsky probably would have, absolutely, because he was mad because he wasn't getting nothing. But what I'm saying is that you have to answer. If we go back, back in those times, like, answer correctly. Be like, well, you are mom. You obviously are not, working at the steel mill or the factory right now in this moment. But here are things that you can do that will aid in the revolution. Whether it's, what kind of domestic skills were women in Tsarist Russia supposed to be doing, back then. You could do these things. You could help us, protect children. You could be a spy. You could, you can do all kinds of stuff. Like you would, you could never look at somebody like that and be like, well, there's nothing you can do. And the same thing with disabled people. Like if somebody, rolled up to you, in a wheelchair or, had contractions, but, had the intellectual ability to be like, well, what about me? That person can have a role. Okay, that doesn't mean that they're going to be doing John Wick, maneuvers. I mean, none of us are. That guy certainly isn't. But what
Cutie
can a
might
person do? And particularly, Cutie will. But particularly, when it comes to the comment about disabled folks, one of my TikToks I made before I left my last job is, and I told you guys this, but for the audience, is me and a few of my clients who are intellectually disabled and physically disabled to an extent. We went to a rally in Albany because they want to participate in politics and demand for higher Social Security benefits. And these are people who are considered, quote unquote low IQ, intellectually disabled, not all that with it, but they have an understanding that if I don't have money, I can't do X, Y, and Z, and I won't have staff. And if I don't have staff, I can't do certain things. Like these people are disabled; they're not stupid.
Yeah.
So just say something like that is it's completely departed from reality.
One of my earliest
Ideals.
conversations in trying to sell like some friends on the ideas of like communism and stuff. I was talking to this girl and she was like, well, I'm disabled. Where do I fit in? And she had said that she had talked to someone about it before and they had told her essentially that, like, oh, well, you don't have anything directly up. And she just turned away from it until I explained a bit better. It's like, well, we're going to figure it out for you. Like, we're going to help you figure it out and do all that. Like, you're part of it too.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're talking about old people, like.
And I was like, what do you do now? And she's like, I do like accounting and stuff. And it's like, okay, well, we're probably going to need some accountants for a while.
Yeah, exactly. I'm bad at math, bro. So,
let's hang out.
Go for it. No, exactly. So, that's just my summary of a different kind of grifter who believes that they are intellectually superior but lack the capacity to meet people as human beings. And this person will continue to be this way and operate this way, and they will never actually be part of any revolutionary struggle, because if they were interested in that, they would never speak to people that way.
I mean, all they do is, using that rhetoric is just pushing people further away, which ironically is literally, lowering the amount of people that will be participating in revolutionary action. So, like, they would quite literally, their presence is like some sort of like revolutionary potential vampire. Know what I mean? Where they're like literally creating, you know, circumstances where people feel like they cannot participate, so they do not. Know what I mean?
Because why would you? If any of you today were just like, Cruz, you cannot participate in revolution, I'd be like, all right, I'll be over here, I guess.
Time to be a liberal, right?
I guess I'll be a lib.
Yeah, where it's just like,
At
least they
I guess
tell
I'll
me.
I'll just hope that the welfare state helps me. Know what I
At least
mean?
they tell me my vote matters.
And I just want to throw out there that me and Jolly leftist, my comrade Jolly, we're talking about, you know, people could still do praxis online. They could create, if they can, if they, you know, they could create content themselves, start a TikTok, you know, and create a community online there, and, you know, be involved with that community, because then, you know, there'll still be people in that community who could get active outside. And, you know, digital praxis is real, and, you know, I always tell people who are leftists to always either engage with content or create content yourself, you know. And if you're nervous, you know, do it slowly. Drop memes. I mean, Comrade Cutie Pie has dropped banger memes, and his account is blown up. So I mean, you could do and make accounts and spread the propaganda. I mean, there's things for, you know, for you to do, and like, you know, we'll need everyone, honestly.
Exactly. But I think that's a pretty good summary of
Everyone flex, proletarian flex.
I don't have my camera plugged in, so let's go, Larry. You look jacked in your profile picture.
Come on, Larry.
No.
Stunt on these revisionists. Stunt on them.
Maybe too powerful.
I'll leave that to you Gen Z folks.
Lame-o.
But he's got the weight.
I'm too old.
About to drop down and do 200 push-ups. I still gotta do 50 push-ups tonight, guys. But yeah, we love you guys all.
I'm wearing a sweater, so you can't tell just how much of this is extreme beef.
Oh my god. Not extreme beef.
Larry flex intellectually.
Flexing the brain, brother.
His brain's flexing.
You flexed enough, Larry.
Now it's time to let the youth flex.
Yeah,
I think I stretched out my sweater.
Nice.
I stretched out my sweater. Oh my!
Just
Be
on my
quiet,
sleeve.
bro.
On my
There's
fucking
no
sleeve.
way.
Fucking doesn't.
That's cap. There's no way. But he's like, I'm so jacked. I
I'm
actually
so
stretched
jacked.
it out.
Oh no!
Just flexing the
What am I gonna
bicep,
do?
tore it up.
You guys are annoying. Goodbye.